It's exactly 5 days to 1 year in office of President Bola Tinubu. On the program today, we take a critical look at some of the infrastructure projects put in place, from the second Niger Bridge to the ongoing project of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. And joining me from our Abuja studios is former Deputy Director, APC Presidential Campaign Council, Ekene Enefe. Mr. Enefe, good to have you on the program.
Thank you.
All right, so let's begin by getting your assessment of the Bola Tinubu administration's infrastructure drive these past 360 days.
Thank you for having me. I think I want to be very candid in assessing the performance of the president under 1 year. I will first of all delve into the infrastructure, especially the road construction, infrastructure development. I can boldly tell you that since the creation of Ministry of Works, this is the first time in the history of the creation that the ministry have a real professional, a civil engineer that understands the details of road construction. You know, and I think under the regime of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Nigeria is going to witness a sustainable roads throughout Nigeria. Any road that is constructed under this regime will last for a very, very, very long time. You know, I have assessed the performance of the current Minister of Works. Less than 1 year he took office. We have seen he's a core professional. You know, it is not business as usual when contractors connive with the ministry officials. And then the federal government spends billions on road construction, and at the end of the day, in less than 2 or 3 years, and we'll see them broken off. The man meant business. He's always on site. I think Nigerians will witness that. And he wants the best for the country. The renewed hope in the aspect of road construction is something every Nigerian will be proud of. Look at the coastal road, you know, and if you see what is going on there, you know this is a new beginning in road construction in Nigeria.
All right, Mr. Enefe.
Not only coastal roads, yeah.
Yes, indeed, there are several projects, you know, and we'll still get to talk about, you know, some of them. But I'd like to bring up some of the criticisms that have come forth, not only from the opposition, but from Nigerian citizens. And that is people questioning the rationale behind some of the new projects that government has taken up, rather than completing some existing ones, which they consider very critical to the everyday life of Nigerian citizens. You want to take, for instance, the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway, you know, and you look at the Songwater section of that road, and you wonder why it's abandoned, you know, so to speak, while we are embarking on new road infrastructure.
Let me tell you, as someone that has followed the process of governance in this country, I think what the minister is trying to do, which I think he has started doing already, set up committees to investigate some of those contracts being awarded. Some contracts are, would I say, dubiously awarded or overinflated. And if he wants to go by the existing contract, then you have to ask yourself, where is the funding going to come from? You know, most of the road construction by the previous administration, by even the previous government before Buhari, they were highly inflated. And the minister who knows about road construction, seeing those contracts, knowing that it's not what meets the eye, that he wants to look into those contracts. And if you know the history of road construction in Abuja, in Nigeria, for instance, during Yaradua, for instance, Airport Road in Abuja was awarded. And when the president became sick, they reevaluated the contract again, and it was inflated with over 20 billion. And nobody said anything because the president was not there. It is the cabals that were running the government. And Nigeria was bleeding. Nigeria was bleeding. Most of this contract that was stopped, I'm sure when if Nigeria will have patience, at the end of the day, they will understand how exorbitantly inflated they were. And we need to save money to be able to spread development all over Nigeria. You know, a contract that is worth 1 billion and in the papers is 16 billion, 15 billion. And you question. And if you go to FCDA, and if you see what the minister was doing, even in terms of previous contracts that were awarded, some were awarded with over $200 million. And the minister of FCDA has reduced them to, after due process, he has reduced them to barely $75 million. You know, and then you see that renewed hope cared for the Nigerian masses. Because when you keep spending money based on inflated contracts, I'm sure the administration will not be able to do enough.
I hear you, Mr. Enefe. But then, what do you think should be done? Because, you know, some of these roads, truth be told, are, you know, they are like what the everyday Nigerian, you know, access to their workplaces and, you know, wherever they have to be. So what do you suggest or recommend is done? Is it that the government goes back to the negotiation table with the contractors, or should we just leave those projects because the foundations were faulty, and so we allow people who reside, you know, in those locations just be?
No, I think the government is on the right track. For instance, the Minister of Works, after due process is concluded, I think the contractors will understand that the government of President Tinubu means well. It means well. And if you're a contractor and you're handling a project of 1 billion and the contract was inflated to 7-8 billion, and then a renewed hope government tells you, look at the process, look at the genuinity of the contract, I think you have no option. You have no option. Because all these things are geared towards the betterment of Nigerians. And I'm sure that the Minister for Works means well for the Nigerian masses, means well for the contractors. He wants things to be done rightly. And I think he's following the due required process to get there. Nigerians should not worry because such projects that are abandoned, I think will soon take off after the conclusion of the process that the Ministry of Works is undergoing.
All right then. You spoke earlier about the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. Very lofty, project, 700 kilometers. But then people are questioning a number of factors around that project. One is the cost. Two is the bidding process. And three is the environmental impact on the people. We'll talk about these dimensions, but that will be in a moment. Please stay with us. Thanks for staying with us on the program Beyond 100 Days. I've been speaking with former Deputy Director of the APC Presidential Campaign Council, Ekene Enefe, and we have been looking critically at this administration's infrastructure drive. So, Mr. Enefe, I was talking about the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, 700 kilometers, yes, and it holds great potential for trade and commerce in Nigeria. But then there are questions regarding its cost, the bidding process for contractors working on that project, and the environmental impact. What is your take on these factors?
Yes, I think the minister has come out openly, even presented a paper about environmental impact assessment, which is ongoing. They have stages. And the stage the ministry they are now is that they have obtained the certificate of impact assessment and environmental impact assessment certificate to go on to the stage where they are. So, but when you talk about the cost, I initially thought about the cost, but after due process, and I actually interacted with the officials of the ministry, how are they going to fund this? And there were explanations. This project is going to run for 8 years. It's not 1 year project. It's not 2 years project. It's not 3 years project. And that is the essence. That is the benefit of stopping the subsidy. And I told people initially, when the president stopped the subsidy, removal of the subsidy, the money that was going into private pockets will now be injected into different sectors of our economy, both security, both infrastructure, both education, both health-wise. And that is what we are witnessing. These are money that has been going into private pocket. Nobody questioned oil subsidy money. How many people are collecting oil subsidy questions? Now, people are questioning where the oil subsidy money is. The oil subsidy money is going into different sectors of the economy to alleviate the suffering of Nigerians, to create infrastructural development, to develop our health sectors, to inject infrastructure and equipment in our security, and to help the military fight insecurity in Nigeria. I told some military officials, Nigerians doesn't even know what they are doing. They are doing so much. They are curtailing insecurity. During Buhari, during the past regime, those, what would I call them? Boko Haram or whatever, they took over so many local governments in the Northeast. But now it's fragment you see everywhere. It's fragment. And these are as a result of the sacrifice of our military, the sacrifice they are doing, losing lives. They are day and night fighting the insecurity. They cannot fight insecurity with bare hands. More money is being injected in security. More money is being injected in infrastructure, road development. More money is being injected in schools, hospitals. And this is as a result of stopping the oil subsidy that was going into few private pockets. I think for me, 1 year is not even enough to assess the regime. It's not even enough. And if you go to Abuja, the press center, we are hearing ministers, though I'm not saying that most of the ministers performed, but then 1 year is not even enough. You know, you have a planning stage, and we dwell much on the performance of the minister. We forget the MDAs. Most agencies are doing incredible well, but the fact that their whistle are not being blown, go to Nasini and see what the executive vice chairman is doing in Nasini, commercializing so many things, solar energy. Nobody is hearing that most of the solar energy being produced by Nasini, people thought they were imported from China, but they are duly imported, manufactured here in Nigeria. This is done by...
I hear you, Mr. Enefe. The ministerial sectoral debate is on, yes, and of course it's an opportunity for the ministers to give account of, what they have done while they've held sway in the various ministries, departments, and agencies. I know you slightly, went to talk about security, but then also you have mentioned the very gallant efforts of the armed forces. They have been doing, well, but then, if we may get back to talking infrastructure, the government is planning another project aside the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, and that is the Badagry-Sokoto project, and that's going to be about 1,000 kilometers. And that is aside other projects that they have in other states. Do you think that government has capacity to take on all of these projects, because they are ambitious and expensive, and there are several other matters the government is considering, including conversations about the national minimum wage?
Yeah, if you have taken some point out from my last conversation, I told you about the removal of oil subsidy. There are a lot of money the federal government is saving from oil subsidy. And this money needs to be injected in different sectors of the economy. And that's exactly what the president is doing. Because if you take that money away from fraudulent pockets, you need to inject to reignite the economy. And that is exactly what the renewed hope is all about. Road infrastructure. And my happiness is that it's not the type of roads we had before, dating back so many years ago, we are going to witness now. Now Nigerians will have durable roads that will last beyond 25 years, 30 years, even 50 years. Most of the federal roads constructed, we don't want to talk about states anywhere, because some of their roads expired after 1 year. But federal roads, some of them 2-3 years is gone. And the minister came with a renewed hope agenda in road construction, that every road done under this administration will have a lifespan beyond 25, 30, 50 years. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. If the president cannot eject the oil subsidy money, then Nigeria will be crying, where is the money from oil subsidy? But now he's injecting it, and Nigerians are questioning, where is he getting all the money? He wants to invest the money. That's reinvestment. That's what he's doing.
All right. So in a nutshell, you believe government has capacity, and these projects are not beyond their reach and, ability to actually implement.
You see?
Yeah, I'm asking, so what you're trying to say is that government has capacity to execute these projects it is taking on?
Absolutely, absolutely well. The government has the capacity, and we're seeing it. Initially I was saying, I think there was a time I had the opportunity to meet the Minister of Work. I said, this is an ambitious project, the coastal road. How are you going to fund it? And after much said and done, I realized that the president meant well. This money that is being saved from oil subsidy is not going to be stolen, because that's always the history of Nigeria. this money is going to be reinvested into our economy. And that is what we are witnessing. And tell me, when you save oil subsidy money for 4, 5, 7, 8 years, what is the coastal road? How much is the coastal road to compare to oil subsidy that is going to be saved? And we are not even talking about our generation, the revenue generation.
Indeed, Mr. Enefe, and you've raised another critical point about ensuring that the money that is saved and, is being said to be channeled to other sectors is actually used for the project for which it is set up. Just before we go, let me quickly ask you what your take is on marine and blue economy. And I ask this because there should also be certain infrastructure in this regard, that would boost trade and aid overall development and earnings, really, of the country. And it was introduced by this administration. So what's your take on that, and what infrastructure can you see in place to help us, reach our goal?
I think the blue marine economy, which is a very good initiative of the president to diversify the economy earnings, the economic earnings. I think, but then the ministry that's in charge has a lot to do in terms of infrastructure. We don't have any infrastructure to drive revenue for blue economy. We don't have. We have to be honest with ourselves, because this is a new policy that come up with agenda of the President Tinubu. So the ministry has to look inward. And also, I expect and I want them to have a more public-private partnership to achieve the desired results. And if you see the Shippers Council, I think all their efforts is geared towards protecting the consumers in the blue marine economy. And I will tell you boldly that the DG or the executive secretary heading the Shippers Council is absolutely doing the right thing. He understands the terrain and he's doing the right thing. Because if it's not about driving, gains or driving IGR. Or, the consumer's protection has to be utmost.
Yeah, that's very critical.
And that's why the Shippers Council comes in, because this blue economy you are talking of, a lot of consumers' rights will be trampled.
We will be able to take. So I brought that up because we need infrastructure to drive each of these sectors of the economy and make the most of them. Former Deputy Director, APC Presidential Campaign Council, Ekene Enefe, thank you so much for talking to us on the program.
Thank you for having me.